Yo everyone, welcome to Amps, Pedals and Pickups. Today I'm going to be checking out one of the newest amp sims on the block. That's a MixWave SpiritBox. There's a ton of features jam-packed into this one, so we're going to go through everything. I'm also going to be doing a ton of amp sim reviews in September. I'm going to call it like Amp SIMTEMBER or something. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Let's check out everything this plugin has to offer. Alright, so I've fired everything up now. I've got it going in Reaper. This is all the default settings. The guitar that I'm using is in drop A sharp. It's an EC1000 with bare knuckle aftermaths. Now, one of the things I'm going to be testing with all these amp sim reviews that I'm doing is just how well does it sound out of the box. This is obviously a SpiritBox plugin. We expect it to sound heavy, but how well does everything cut through? Let's check it out. That's pretty much what I expected. Everything is sounding pretty damn good there. Now, I've only spent a couple minutes with this, and like I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about why I'm doing so many amp sims towards the end of the video, but let's get into the review first. So quite a lot of stuff going on in this interface. Now, notice the input has mono and stereo. This should really default to stereo because, as you can see here, I put on all my tracks, I put it on the buses, and if it's not in stereo, it's super annoying. But anyways, that's the stereo option right there. We have the gate. I always use the gate with everything. There's a little bit of like EMI, a little bit of noise going on in this room. So a gate is a must. Now, one of the things I really like here is you have all your different options like overdrive, chorus, reverb, amp cap, all that sort of stuff. But the modularity lets you move things around, which is super handy. We'll have a look at that a little bit later. They have input processing as well as output processing. I'm noticing these days with amp sims is like, it's easier to get an amp, or maybe the technology exists a little bit better to make an amp sim sound good. So chucking all these things in under the hood is actually super, super handy. You have your sync timer there, your oversampling. We'll just leave everything. And have an output limiter, I guess if things are sounding too hot, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna leave that off for now. So let's take a look at the amps. For the 2 seconds that I played around with it, this blue amp is by far the best. It's got your meat, it's got your chonk. Let's just hear it again. Sounding awesome there. Just put that gate back. Now if we go to the clean channel, which is the purple. Go to that neck pickup, make sure everything's on. This is like the clean channel. They say clean to edge of breakup. This is like the holy roller cab, they call it, which is good for your like rhythms, your chugs, all that sort of stuff. Then this is the sort of lead channel that they're saying, you know, is an alternate rhythm, but lead. Let's check out how this is sounding. So same guitar setup, we'll flick it back over to the holy roller amp. That to me is like the sound that I'm looking for. And then when I chug it onto something like this, that's something I'm not looking for. There's just way too much like fuzz and low end. I'm noticing that a lot with amp sims is they typically have like a clean channel, a high gain 5150 channel, and then a more like fuzz based option. It's cool that they have all these options, but I typically just shy away from this stuff. But let's try and get things going. I'll turn the gain down. This amp is just always going to have that fuzz quality that I'm not too into, so I'm always sort of going to fight it and try and get away. I think for the most part for this demo, this review, I'm going to stick to this amp. It's just the one that I like. I'll turn off that OD pedal. Now let's engage it and see what sort of difference it's making. I mean, when you have perfection, why mess with things? This is the amp to use, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. A little bit loud there. I really like that. I like that everything is sounding really, really good out of the box and there's not too much that you want to mess with. Great tone, absolutely love the default sound that they're getting. Once again, I'm not going to mess with the cab, so the default IR that they're using or cab sound they're using is fantastic. Obviously, if you come into here, there's so much going on under the hood. The fact that you can mess with like the 4 speakers, do all the different stuff. Let's have a look at the different cabs. So V30 greens, heaps of microphones. Like, was it? Analysis paralysis through the roof there on those. That's another cool thing with a plugin like this is that you could run a different amp sim into this. So the fact they're giving you like a ton of cab options, it's sort of like a cab simulator just on their own. Very, very cool, but I'm just going to stick to default. Now I noticed they had the focus and contour controls at the bottom. Once again, I like this sort of stuff. They're giving you these extra sort of EQ options on top of the typical stuff that you have here. So focus looks like you can quickly like bore out the mids, and then contour looks like you can increase the mids, which is kind of weird because contour on an amp sort of does the opposite of that. It increases the other side of things. Whatever, look at the diagram, see what it's doing there. Mic level match, super handy. Panning, level. I like that you can change the angle and the axis on this stuff. That is very, very handy. Once again, watch the end of the video. You'll know why I'm skimming over this stuff a little bit more, but this is really good for me. I just sort of make a mental check note on this that like the MixWave SpiritBox plugin has a very, very feature-packed cab section. If I ever need to come back to it it's there, I know this is awesome and it has a ton of options going on. All right, so before we get into the pedals, let's check out the input processing. Let's go over here, we'll turn it on. I like the fact they have a compressor there. Once I started seeing plugins with compressors in them, I'm like, I need this in a lot of plugins now because it's super, super handy. But they have like this sort of parametric EQ thing going on, so you can change the low, mids, highs, all that sort of stuff going on. We'll got our input processing on. Let's check it out. And then in the context of a mix, we'll go into, I'll just leave that on some conservative settings, and then we'll go into the output processing. You can see here, I actually did have this left on out because it was very low and it just needed cleaning up on that low end, but we'll play around with this one. So if you do it before it hits the amp sim, you're like really messing with the DI sound. But if you do it after it's hitting the amp sim, it just sort of like, it's already processed. It's that nice fat waveform. And then you're just like cutting off the low end. I would typically do things on the output processing, but the fact that you can do both is pretty handy. I don't need to do the low pass. I mean, I guess I can. This might help if you have like a lot of top end sizzle, so you like how the amp is dialed in, but there's just a bit too much sizzle going on. You can just bring this down to the point where it just takes that sizzle away. You know, I might just solo this. See, I was just taking that away, that little whistling. It's subtle, but it's doing something there. That whistling is obviously like way more apparent in solo. In the context of a mix, it's not as bad. It's the sort of thing you do in the mixing realm, but the fact, once again, that it's here is pretty handy to have there. All right, so just pulled up this clean tone that I did in that mix as well. Let's take a listen to it. This is the settings that I used. I'll just take that off for a second. So I'm using this amp with those settings. Same IR, didn't want to change anything. I use the reverb pedal with these settings, but I also did some of the input processing there for the compressor. So let's listen to it as it is. I don't really use a ring mod too much, so let's check it out. I'm learning this stuff as much as you are. You know, even playing with that, I can sort of get inspired for some automation moves that could really make your stuff sound crazy. I'm not going to go too deeply into it because I'm not a ring mod expert. I would just be like geeking out over this for like 2 hours, checking out how to use a ring mod and all that sort of stuff. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't really seen this in other plugins, so it's pretty cool that they've included it. Once again, this is something I like when they give you this stuff because you can get a lot more, you can dig into it later. You can just have those days where you're just messing around, noodling around on the guitar and just try a whole bunch of different effects and get inspired for your tracks. Unfortunately, I'm not too clued in with it now, but it's something that I should be checking out later. All right, let's check out the chorus. It's just like instant, what is it, like microtonal sort of sounds, you know, just super craziness. It's like you're falling into the fourth dimension of hell with this sorts of sounds. That's cool. This sounds a little bit different to chorus pedals. Yeah, using the sync option would have helped a lot. Just creates this tension and sort of like makes things weird, perfect for like pre-breakdown sort of stuff. Man, I've just been playing this for a couple minutes. It's actually quite a deceptively feature-packed delay. You got analog, digital, lo-fi, reverse, ping pong, or dual delay. So you have those different timings going on in the dual delay. Got a tone knob, feedback knob, depth. It's all here. It's like quite a hectic delay pedal. Let's just leave it off and then I'll turn it on. Chuck on some reverse delay, classic. My main takeaway with something like this is there's just a ton to explore here. Way too much for this video. I could make a half-hour video just really messing around with sounds on this. All right, so there we have it. That's a quick look at the SpiritBox mic stringer plugin from MixWave. Very, very cool stuff going on here. Now, taking a look at everything, I'm just doing a trial. This is $79 US on sale at the moment. Very, very cool plugin. I think my overall view of this is that the clean tone is great. The SpiritBox channel, the blue channel, is very, very usable. That lead, I might use in some like weird scenarios, but I would typically just stick to that blue channel in the middle there, sounding very, very good. Doesn't take too much to get going. The fact that you can just switch it on and get a good tone from scratch and start pushing and pulling from there. But to me, what makes this plugin unique or good, I should say, is that it's almost positioning itself in that neural DSP sort of class of plugin where you have like all these extra features, input processing, output processing, transposing, gate, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's just so much that they're chucking into plugins like this. And it's really, really great to see. You know, I think long gone are the days of paying $100 for like an average amp sim these days. You're getting like a great sounding amp sim plus all this suite of DSP effects going on. You're basically getting like an effects unit in a box, but in a plugin. So 79 bucks, not too bad an ask for this kind of thing. And of course, if you're a fan of SpiritBox, what a great way to support the guys. I'm sure they're getting a nice little cut from this plugin. So great work from the guys there. Let me know what you think about the SpiritBox plugin in the comments below. All right, so let's talk about all these plugin reviews that I'm doing. I didn't want to make a dedicated video for this. I'm just tacking it onto this one. This is going to be the first video that I'm releasing in September, or as I like to call it, SIMTEMBER, where I check out a bunch of amp sims. If you've been following the channel, I'll leave a link to the video here or here, wherever it is. I recently sold my Fractal FM3 because I just found amp sims were easier to use just because of workflows for VST reasons, just being able to record your DI, slapping an amp sim down, mixing a track, boom, moving on with your day. That is just such a great workflow. And of course, I can reamp things into the real amps that I have lying around here. But most of the time, for quick stuff, I'm just using different amp sims. So I sort of felt like now that I'm going all in on amp sims for a while, I do have my favorite amp sims that I pull up and I use them and everything sounds great. But I was like, it's probably time to just check out a whole bunch of the new ones, maybe revisit some of the old ones, just sort of see how everything stacks from left to right, give everything a little bit of a score, and then, you know, at the end, maybe I'll have some interesting findings. Maybe some of the free ones are a lot better than I thought. Maybe there's some more expensive high-tiered pay one that actually commands that price. Maybe some of the paid ones aren't as good as they used to be because they came out quite a while ago. I don't know. There's a lot to check out and I thought it'd be worth doing. So for all these videos, at the end of them, I'm going to be chucking up like a score list at the end of them. I'm not too sure if I mentioned this already, but yeah, how much they cost, all the features involved, how quick is it to pull a good tone, just a few different criteria there. So then, you know, at the end of the month, we have all those scores. We can take a look at things and just see how everything lands. It's really hard to tell like one by one because you sort of use one and you go, oh, this one's really good. And then you try another one, you're like, oh, this one's really good. But to look back at like 10, 20, 30 of them and sort of see how everything stacks up, that's sort of like an interesting conclusion in itself. So yeah, for the month of September, I'll actually be having some regular content. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe. And if you have your favorite amp sim that you want me to check out, comment below. I might have time to jam some in. But trust me, I got a lot of the big boys in there, a lot of stuff to be coming. So as always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Let me know what you thought about MixWave SpiritBox mic stringer. I think it's pretty good. I think it's going to sit quite high up in the tier list because everything just sounds great right out of the box. But who knows? Let's check out how everything sounds at the end of the month with those scores. So as always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.